And we're ready whenever you are.
Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in the council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raised hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the upper right-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button and be given your opportunity to address council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kathy, would you call the roll?
Mayor Skelly,
Here.
Councilor Dilaba,
Here.
Councilor Fisher,
Here.
Councilor Kennedy, here, Councilor Powers,
Here.
Councilor Reish,
Here.
Councilor Scamperly,
Here.
quorum present.
We do not have any presentations tonight. We do have one proclamation tonight. I will read that now. Whereas libraries are not just about what they have for people, but what they do for and with people. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions, and library workers and librarians fuel efforts to better their communities, campuses, and schools. Whereas librarians are leaders in the institutions, in their institutions and organizations, in their communities, in the nation, and in the world. Whereas librarians continue to lead the way in leveling the playing field for all who seek information and access to technology. Whereas librarians or libraries and librarians look beyond their traditional roles and provide transformative opportunities for education, employment, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement, as well as new services that connect closely with patrons' needs. Whereas libraries and librarians lead their communities in innovation, providing STEAM programming, maker spaces, and access and training for new technologies. Whereas libraries and are pioneers supporting democracy and affecting social change with a commitment to providing equitable access to information for all the library users, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or social economic status. Whereas libraries lead in working with diverse communities, including people of color, immigrants, and people with disabilities, offering services and educational resources that transform communities, open minds, and promote inclusion and diversity. Whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jeffrey M. Skelly, proclaim National Library Week, April 4th through 10th, 2021. I am encouraging all residents to visit the Ogdensburg Public Library this week and explore what's new at your library and engage with your librarian. Please, excuse me, because of you and our library leaders, libraries transform. And I will sign that now. Penny, would you want to receive this? We do not have any public hearings tonight. So this brings us to public appearance. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Scott McRoberts. I reside at 337 Proctor Avenue. I was pleased to see the upgrade in our credit rating by Moody's on April 8, 2021. However, despite newspaper articles to the contrary and statements by the current mayor and city manager, they are not solely responsible for this credit upgrade. The report states governance being a key driver for the rating as previous city management drew down fund balance levels to very minimal levels before a new management team began implementing conservative budgeting practices that helped with 3 consecutive surpluses. Approximately $1 million in 2017, $1 million in 2018, $400,000 in 2019, and an unaudited amount of roughly $1 million in 2020. So just wanted to point that out. The articles seem to be one-sided and didn't want to give credit in other places. So next, I was saddened to read the article in today's North Country Now regarding the alleged sexual harassment of a library employee by a sitting city councilor. I also understand that the library board was not provided copies of the city's sexual harassment policy and dates that the counselor completed the state mandated training for 2020 or 2021, but instead were required to foil this request. What is the city administration trying to hide? Perhaps the training should have been completed instead of timing the fire department's response time to local fire calls. Lastly, I've been the subject of numerous Facebook posts calling me an attack dog for calling on the Board of Elections to throw out the city council petition by Mr. Breen. What was done wrong on my part? Did the Board of Elections do something wrong by following the requirements? I ask you tonight, Mayor Scully, to give me a response to the emails I sent you. Please be a man enough to give me a response, or quite frankly, stop posting comments about me on Facebook. I do not have a social media account. If I have something to say to you, I do it out in the open. So feel free to comment anytime. Thanks.
Anyone next?
Doug Loeffler, 311 Padding Street. At the last council meeting, I was accused by Mr. Jelly of asking questions that I knew council had no answers to. They were pretty simple. There were 3 of them. First one, what was our tax exempt? Okay, it was 87%. I said, what is it now? Second one was, is this new city comptroller going to be in her office? And the third one was our assessor still all sick? The city manager's comment to me is, you knew council didn't have answers to that. My point to you is if you don't have simple answers to some simple questions asked by taxpayers, then you're not really doing your job. And there's no communication from the city manager to the entire council. Well, we all know there's a lack of communication with this administration. Is that called transparency? That's a question. Fact? No. No one is going to stop me as a taxpayer from asking questions at public events here, even Mr. Jelly. As a coach, I love challenges. And as I am as competitive as anyone in that profession. Mr. Jelly's comment to me, and I'll quote, bring it on, is a challenge that I will cherish very, very much. Your leadership skills are rude and classless, and your assertions are bold and dangerous.
Make it personal, please. Just
He made it personal at the last meeting. I find it very ironic that we keep blaming past administration for the $800,000 we owed the county. Did anyone of the majority or the city manager question former Mayor Nelson or councilors Tom Hannon, Steve LaRose, Sam Lamachi, Mike Morley, Carl Tucci, Doug Gillette, Storm Silly, or Billy Hosmer to see why the city was in that situation? The answer to that is no. Okay, I talked to these people. No, not one of you has reached out to them to get an answer why the city of Ogdensburg was put in that situation. but still we blame the past administration. I think it is very noble that we paid the county off in full. I can't help think about the many articles written and statements made by Mr. Skelly and Mr. Jelly that we are in a financial crisis, that we did not negotiate a payment schedule back with the county. God knows we like to get into negotiations. Before anyone says anything, I know this isn't a question and answer time, but I'm going to ask a few questions. I hope the council will go back over this and come back at our next meeting with some answers. We received over $1 million in stimulus funds. Has there been any discussion on what we're going to do with that money? I think the taxpayers should know what's going on there. Question 2, what is our action plan development going forward? 3, what is being done about job development in this community? What are our revenue streams going to be in the future? What are you going to do about high tax exempt property? What are we doing about our assessments that you ran on? I wish this was a question and answer because I would love to listen to each one of your answers concerning the above questions. Maybe at the next meeting, each one of you could give the taxpayers under new business or old business the answer to them questions. I do not know the city comptroller. I would like to meet her, but I have to make an arrangement through the city manager, which I will. There's a comment in a local newspaper that we congratulated the comptroller for taking charge of restructuring city's financial practices and restoring absolute integrity to our business operations. Knowing Mr. Cosmo and Mr. Johnson, our past comptrollers, I would like to say that their character, integrity, work ethic, dependability, and professionalism is above reproach. And in closing, first of all, I'd like it in the minutes that I have no problem with anybody being appointed to any committee in this community by this council, okay? But I do disapprove of the process. On February 8th, there was a motion made to appoint Mr. Ferry to a 5-year term on a vacancy committee. It was stated by the city manager that Mr. Ferry contacted him in that afternoon to advise that he had moved his primary residence to outside the city limits. I had a discussion with Mr. Ferry. Okay, the city manager knew in December that Mr. Ferry was moving outside the city. Not that afternoon. It was well known before in December that happened. And that's the process. See, I don't agree with the process.
For your next, the last few minutes.
Pardon?
Your time's up, Doug. You want to come back in the last?
I sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, thank you for having me up here. Margaret Haggerty from the city. I'm reading a letter I'm reading it on behalf of 139 concerned citizens of Ogdensburg, New York.
Turn that over to the city clerk and we'll take that.
I attempted to do that earlier.
You're not going to read it, anything about personnel.
Mayor, I object. I
Well,
think that you've come down as a citizen participant before.
She's not going to read anything
And had your
about
say about
employees.
city employees.
She's not going to read anything about employees.
You know, do you remember
I do choose.
Scott
She's not
Thornhill?
going to read. Yeah, I never mentioned him by name. I never mentioned him by name.
Can you read the letter without mentioning any specific names?
No, there will be
Sure.
nothing about a city employee. So please, turn it over there, but you're going to talk about other things. You will not talk about city employees. You know,
Right.
so she's not reading the letter. That is enough.
May I, okay,
You
you
can
all,
talk about other things, Margaret.
May I
You will
talk?
not read about.
you all have had the letter, and it's not something that's simply informational. It's
So we
something
don't
that
need it
requires
read.
action.
We've read it. Thank you. Turn
So,
over to the city
but,
clerk.
so it wasn't acknowledged in any way. So is there a way that it can be acknowledged that it's serious enough for me to be asking that again as you.
It's, if anyone wants to reach out to you later, they will.
I think this is a violation of open meetings.
Well, I don't.
I'd just like that recorded on the record, please.
So you get it. So Margaret,
I don't
please
understand. I guess, and I can, this isn't for one a personnel matter.
it is personnel. We're not going to do it.
We're not personnel.
We're not.
We're not personnel. We're elected officials, elected by the people of the city to perform a function here.
Well,
And if that's
You can
derogatory
start
in
doing
nature
that.
towards us, then so be it.
we're not going to have that read. Do you want to talk about anything else? Your time's
I don't understand the double standard. Why you can do it on Facebook on your mayor's page, but you can't let somebody come in here and talk.
The
And
city council has rules, Dan. So,
Facebook doesn't.
no, it.
I want to know.
I
How's
don't know.
Facebook have-
May I ask then if everybody's read it? Everybody has had it. Everybody, I'm assuming
We're
has read
not
it. What
reading it.
might be,
If you're
the
welcome to turn it over to
response
the clerk,
to
or
it.
maybe you already have, Margaret. This
I
is
did, and I
that.
was
She's
told
not reading
that,
the letter. She's speaking
I
to
was
us now.
told that
Over
it
5
couldn't be
minutes.
entered as
Shut it down.
correspondence because you folks have had the letter. The public, some folks know the letter, some folks don't. We have 139 supporters, so it's not only me speaking, I'm speaking for 139 supporters
You're not gonna
of a letter
speak
who are
here.
concerned about a dangerous situation.
We have a
And-
legal opinion on that?
I was just saying, can we get a legal opinion? This letter
I'm sorry,
can-
I think I'm running this meeting. And I said it's not gonna happen.
You're the chair of the meeting and I don't have an issue with that. But
Well,
we're
that's-
still a governmental entity here, regardless of what your opinion
Why don't
is.
you go get the lawyer?
Well, I just asked for him.
I am running this.
I just asked for him.
Is the
Can we
lawyer
have
here
the
tonight?
lawyer
Or did-
interpret this for us?
Let's take a vote on it.
Yes, let's take a vote.
right now.
Absolutely.
All right, well, so if a vote is taken,
I know what it is.
it reflects that vote.
You know what? Let's take a vote.
If this is my time, I need to be able to use it. If a vote is taken,
There is no vote.
Oh.
There's no.
no vote. So what shall I do with this
I-
letter and
I
what can I
think-
tell?
Brittany, is it
Submit
her
it to the
time
city
off?
clerk as he's mentioned. Put it on the record, ask to have it in the record on the meeting.
Okay,
Submit it to the city clerk.
Okay.
As correspondence that was, you were denied the ability to read it. Give it to the city clerk and then share it abroad.
okay. And I was also denied the opportunity to have it read as correspondence.
Yes,
as
you
well.
were. Thank you. Any?
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Kathy, could you make sure the record reflects that we did ask for a legal opinion on that, please?
Yes, I do have that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Tooley. I live at 214 Hamilton Street here in the city. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. First, while it's nice to see the library recognized tonight, I find it somewhat hypocritical of the city to proclaim National Library Week and to cite the many valuable reasons the library should be so recognized, yet the city is on a path of reducing funding for the library to the point where its financial viability is threatened, its ability to remain open is threatened. Will the city proclaim National Library Week in 2022 or 2023 if the library is closed? As the city controller provides you with revenue and expense projections during this year, if the city projects its budget will generate a surplus, I ask that you consider given the increase in funding to the library this year and to budget for increases to restore cuts made in prior years going forward. Next, I note you'll be getting an update on sales tax under old business. This past week in North Country Now, the city manager is quoted as stating one reason the city might look to further reduce the workforce of the city's fire department is due to the uncertainty of what sales tax revenue the city will receive if it moves to preempt. The quote was, "The city's decision to preempt the county on its share of sales tax presents many unknowns and is uncertain if the city will be ahead, behind, or in line with current sales tax receipts under the new system." To me, this is a disturbing statement. How can the city move to a change affecting sales tax revenue if it does not have an idea of the impact on such a change? To move to invest the time and resources to preempt without knowing how it will impact city finances is, in my opinion, irresponsible. I recommend City Council direct the city manager to form a study in a very short timeline that will provide reasonable estimates of the potential impact on sales tax revenue for the city if it preempts, and to share that information with the community so citizens can share informed opinions with council before it commits to a final decision. Perhaps that information will be part of the information shared in tonight's update. However, if it's not, and if it's your position that the decision has already been made to preempt, and in fact, the city does not have a responsible projection of a range of what sales tax revenue might be on the move to preempt, shame on you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone else wish to speak?
You don't really need the microphone probably, but I'll use it anyhow. Probably advisable, I probably shouldn't even be standing up here, but I'm going to have to express my opinion. And just the idea of let's take a vote on it just makes a mockery out of this whole thing. I'm here as a concerned citizen, having watched what I perceive as the methodical evisceration of our city. I have talked to councilors, former councilors, the mayor. I've tried to understand what's caused this whole mess. And I think the people that I've spoken to about this is my concern. We as citizens are well aware of the fact that our city is in dire financial straits. Going into this, I don't think any of us anticipated what would be done by developing what appears to be a block voting system, the our way or no way mindset. Social media, which can be a wonderful resource, has been turned into a battleground. Name calling, hurtful statements, threats, lies, embellishment of incidences, retaliatory statements, incitement of citizens against each other, incitement of causes against each other. I'm not saying one side or the other side is innocent. I'm saying there shouldn't be sides to begin with. Teamwork as a community would be the answer. Adhering to the city charter, honoring established negotiated contracts, not going into a job thinking it was done to spite you, and trying to eradicate the departments that it involves. As a taxpayer, some of the few amenities we have is one, a police department, which I think you all agree and should agree we need, with the problem that appears of the meth labs being rampant in this town. We have a very professional, efficient police force. We got this, we need this, we need to keep this. The sheriff's department has the 5th largest county east of the Mississippi. And you want to put the city's safety in their hands and have to make one more duty for them? Totally uncalled for when we have a police department already. Their response time would be a matter of life and death. The troopers would have the same issue. Both great teams, but as a backup to our already established police force. A paid fire department is a great benefit to our city. First responders, within minutes. I've had personal use of them. I don't know if anybody else here has. The department basically maintains itself, taking care of its buildings, trucks, property, and highly trained for any responses they need to go to. Not only do they fight house fires, what if the tower's caught on fire? You got a volunteer department that can handle that? I think our guys would have a few more resources to work with. Do you honestly see having a volunteer fire department here? Finger pointing and referrals to people saying we are getting rid of the good old boys club when they talk about past administrations. But what I'm seeing here is the evolution of another one. I've dealt with them before, and we've handled them. There are women in this town that have good ideas also. Hopefully people will be open-minded to that. I'm not making this a sexist thing, so I don't think I am. Did you meet with department heads as groups before all these cuts started going down, saying, come back to us with 20%? Some way you can cut the department so we can work, so it's not just one department after another department. Did you work with them? Did you ask them? Did you ask anybody in past administrations? or who work various areas here. How can we work this? How can we fix this? How can we maintain programs? Did you get any research at all on it? I don't think you did. I don't think, and I don't think I'm the only one that understand you had great aspirations when you came into this to get us out of the trouble. But it was Napoleon-like as far as I can see. It also appears that there is one person who makes a lot of decisions without consulting supervisors or bosses, but I could be wrong because I don't know anything until you read it in the paper. The last I knew, he paid taxes, which technically everyone works for us, and you're here for the concerns of the citizens. Safety should be one of our main concerns. I'm not afraid. Far from being afraid. Safety doesn't mean you're afraid. But I would like to know I've got backup. Finances should be right along the road, but safety comes first. Sacrificing our safety to show power and threatening to reduce our fire department to 16? Seriously. Somebody's got to use some common sense here, people. And I'm probably going to regret having come up here and said these things. But I hope not. I hope it's to an open mind. And I hope you understand that this, and when I just heard that, the vote on it, that was just an first affirmation of what I just said. So my time's up, I'm sorry, but I hope you open your minds.
Thank you, Penny. Anyone else?
I had hoped this evening that I would have some information that I wanted to share with you, but I am waiting for some legal entities to get back to me with some of the slanderous comments that have been made on Facebook. But when I sit here and I watch the faces made by city staff, some city staff, elected officials, I'm ashamed. I've presided over meetings with 300 and 600 people in those meetings with subjects that are difficult about people's health, their businesses, fair housing, etc. Some I agreed with the comments, some I didn't. Sometimes with 30 to 100 people lined up at microphones or on Zoom to speak at. As an elected official, or as a leader, or as someone that leads the community or staff, you keep an even keel. You look at everyone with respect, whether you agree with them or whether you don't. You hear people. When I sit here and I hear a joke about a vote, when you have counselors and 100 and something people signing a letter, and you will not get an attorney's opinion because it's 4-2-3. That is putting the city in jeopardy. That is not good governance. I urge you all, please take some governance classes or look to someone that can help you and guide you. But this is certainly not good governance, and it's not good stewardship of my city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? If anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature and Kathy will recognize you.
The first individual is registered as David Price, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted, sir. It appears your line is open.
Good evening, council. I had not planned on addressing council tonight. I had nothing prepared. But after watching the treatment of Ms. Haggerty as she got up to speak to the council, I feel necessary to kind of talk to you a little bit. You know, in a democratic forum, the hallmark of a democracy is dissent. Okay, dissent is necessary to have discourse, to discuss issues, so there isn't just one-sided view. That's why the framers of our Constitution put the First Amendment first, the freedom of speech, the freedom to speak out against government. There are 7 counselors up there, one who is called mayor. You preside over the meeting, but that doesn't mean you get to decide whose rights get to be accepted and whose get violated. A person has the right to speak to council. They have the right to have their correspondence read. In a democracy, that's what we do. If you choose to shut down the First Amendment rights of someone, if you choose to discard their correspondence, then you're choosing a path that's very akin to a fascist society. Now, I heard someone mention that maybe it was Napoleon-like, but I would go more with, you know, Hitler, Saddam Hussein. some of those characters. So listen to people when they get up to speak. If 130 some people signed a document, maybe it's worth at least listening to. Just because you or the other counselors may have read it doesn't mean that the people themselves have had a chance to digest the full weight of the letter. There are people sitting in those seats right now who stood in the crowd and screamed and yelled and approached council and complained about employees. Even simple facts or simple matters like shoveling snow off sidewalks. So certainly the position of city manager is one that should be able to be scrutinized and brought to light so that the council can make informed decisions, which you cannot do if you shut down the citizens. I, for one, applaud Margaret for getting up in front of you, because to try and take a beating from someone both on social media when you're called attack dogs and hate groups, and then shut down as you're trying to speak your mind, what a great and powerful woman to stand in front of you. Shame on you for shutting her down.
Who's next? Anyone next?
Give me one moment, please. Mr. Price disappeared before I could mute him. The next individual is registered as Brian Mitchell, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted.
Good evening. In North Country Now and then in the Watertown Times, all we read about is fireman's contract and how the mayor and the city manager is trying to force the firemen into something that shouldn't be done. I guess the question we have is, has anybody looked at the city manager's contract? He was supposed to move into the city by a certain date. And as far as I've understood in the public, he has not moved in the city. Is there any kind of update? And I know this isn't an answering question, but how long does he get to violate his contract for? Because he's the first one to shove it down anybody else's throat that, they're not following the contract. Next thing, public update from the mayor and Mr. Jelly. You guys use Facebook for public updates. I've asked over and over, what does a citizen need to do to get on block from YouTube? I miss reading your garbage on there every day, Mayor. If you're going to put down people and everything, and it'll probably be me tomorrow, I'd love to read it. So is there any chance that you can unblock me?
No.
No? Okay, well, at least that's on the record that you're using a public forum for a public update, and I'm not, as a taxpayer, able to read your garbage on Facebook. Perhaps, maybe you can put it on the big screen at your movie theater that everybody voted you in at, that we still haven't seen a movie on. I'd like to see your updates on when the movie theater is going to open, but obviously I can't see it because you won't unblock me. So I appreciate it. And like I say, we hope to see the city manager in the city with his family and going to events and sponsoring stuff that the city takes part in. So that's it. We look forward to it.
The next individual is registered as Chrissy Fisher, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted. Mrs. Fisher, it appears you are self-muted.
Might have been a mistake.
It may be technical difficulty, but
Anyone else?
I do not see any other hands raised.
And this brings us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
We do not.
This brings us to our consent agenda. The claims as enumerated in general fund warrant number 07-2021, in the amount of $795,153.52, and the library warrant number 07-2021, in the amount of $17,116.70, and capital fund warrant number 07-2021, in the amount of $885,115.19, and community development fund warrant number 07-2021, in the amount of $76.02, and community renewal fund warrant number 07-2021 in the amount of $10,345 as audited be and the same hereby are ordered paid. So move. Have a second?
Second.
Kathy, would you call the roll?
Mayor Skelly,
Yes?
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
I have a question regarding the payment to Development Authority of the North Country. I was under the impression we didn't have a contract, standing contract with them outside of the wastewater treatment plant. Is that correct?
It's for wastewater treatment plant and water treatment plant services.
That
And we
they're
just-
providing now?
We just extended that a couple of meetings ago through the end of the year.
Thank you. That's what that payment's for?
Yes, sir.
17,000?
I did have a couple questions as well. I apologize. I wanted to get it to you today.
Nope.
And,
I can answer them. I will.
one was Big Apple Music for $6,700.
Yep. We're installing a video conferencing system in the back council conference room chambers.
Okay. And the other one was Gardner's Flooring. Did we get some new flooring somewhere?
Kathy's, was that Gardner's flooring? Shane, is that the flooring for the conference room also? Yeah, it's the flooring for the executive conference room carpet.
Okay. Are we doing some work back there?
Yeah. Take
News.
You didn't know, you'll know this tonight when we go for executive session.
I know that it's not in good condition, or it wasn't.
It is
I'd like
now.
to see what it looks like now.
Yep.
But, all right, so that was my only two.
That came out of capital improvements, out of the,
Yes, sir.
yes. My vote's yes.
Counselor Reish,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
approved.
We do not have any appointments tonight, and this brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business will be read by City Manager Stephen Jelly, and you can do just the summary version.
A resolution to approve the 2021 tax warrant.
I'll move it.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reish,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by Director of Planning and Development, Andrea Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution declaring surplus property and authorizing the city manager to hold a public auction. Whereas staff has reviewed the following properties and recommend that city council declare as surplus city-owned property fit for public sale at the recommended minimum sale price. Tax map number 48.078-5-31, address of 12 Mill Street. This is a vacant non-conforming lot with a recommended minimum price of $500.
Let's move that. I mean, see any point in making it go through the whole list. It's going to be advertised, correct? So,
I'll second that. Save you some work.
if you call discussion, I just have a couple quick questions.
Sure.
So the first three properties, I noticed one's 20 by 80, the other two are 40 by 80. So they're non-conforming. I know they're on Lake Street, Mill Street. You can't build on these properties like a house unless they're together or attached to another property.
Are you specifically inquiring about the first three on Mill Street?
Actually, I think I'm inquiring the first three on Mill Street and then the one on Lake Street, yes.
The three on Mill Street are all non-conforming. They are located in the residential business district where the minimum lot size is 55 by 60. The lot on Lake Street, which is 308 Lake Street, is also located in the residential business district and is non-conforming, not having adequate street frontage. They're all vacant lots.
Under the new code that for some reason this council doesn't want to look at, will those be, if it's passed, conforming lots that somebody can build there?
The properties on Mill Street will not. At 20 by 80 and 40 by 80, those will remain non-conforming.
What is the, and you may not know often, if under the new code, what was that? I know we're going to slim those down,
I can certainly follow up with council.
but I mean, one of the things about this new code system, I know,
I would just refer to it as a proposed code.
oh, yes, the draft. And, you know, we've looked at it and we've had meetings on it, and I know you've spent years on it with the planning board and zoning board. But I know that here comes construction season. And again, I'm asking you again to let's put this on the table and take a look at it. Maybe do another workshop. And Andrew did a lot of work and with these boards to try and make a code system that's more business friendly and residential friendly. And I think it's worth personally passing. I've been over it. We have as past council. I don't know if you guys have yet. Been asking since last January, one of the first things. Let's get this code system passed, which will make the city a little bit more business friendly and residential friendly in terms of building and things like that. And so I know that was part of the comprehensive plan draft that was put into place last council meeting. And so I think it's worth getting on this and trying to expand the city and our tax base. So I just wanted to say that.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just, we've been busy. The council's been busy. There's been a lot to do. Just a lot of other things, but it is important, and I do hope we get to it soon. Any further discussion?
What are you looking to do, man? You looking to table?
No, absolutely not. I want to sell this property.
Right.
But no, it was a good time to bring up the reminder when I was looking at these lots. I know that she had done some work with the boards on reducing the size so that people could build easier and things like that without so many hurdles. And here we are rolling into another construction season. And I brought it up last year before construction season several times, maybe a dozen times. Let's get this code system going, and still no action. But it is a part of the comprehensive plan and draft that I'd like to see get going here soon. So, and I think we should, as a council, if we want to expand our tax base and allow a more business friendly and residential friendly city than what we have. Not that it's not. So it's just our code system needs to be updated. I mean, it's an old, what's the old one from 1984?
92.
92. So close enough.
No arguing that needs to be addressed. Just, like I say, been busy.
So if all these lots get bought up and we look at the code change later, somebody sitting on them, they'll go from non-conforming to conforming.
If that were to happen,
Right.
Or they can still get a variance too, right?
absolutely.
So even if that wouldn't be standard, or maybe if we came up with a square footage rather than a certain number that doesn't meet the number.
But so it doesn't stop people from bidding on these properties as long as they know that down the road they've got a potential of being conforming.
Even tomorrow, if somebody bought this property the day of the auction, they could apply for a variance to build.
Yeah.
Right.
But even under this current code system. The new code system just makes it easier because it does downsize those numbers a little bit.
Is this Mill Street number 2 close to 12 Mill? Doesn't have a number.
Yeah, if you look at your map that you were
Right.
also provided,
I can't.
and you
it's
look
too
at the
fuzzy.
tax map, it's number 33. It's the lot in the center.
Okay, but it's not adjacent to 12.
No, sir, it's not. There's a lot in between.
Okay.
And since we're discussing Mill Street, there is a lot in between that the city does not own. We had held all 3 of these lots in abeyance with the thought process that maybe we would acquire that one property. And if we did, those could all be combined and you would have a very nice buildable lot in the residential business district, not necessarily for a home, but for a business or for something. But we that property owner continues to pay their property taxes, which we are very happy for. It doesn't look like that we will be acquiring that. And so there's really no need for us to continue to hold on to them. We've been monitoring it for in excess of 5 years.
Is it a residence or just I see there's something on that.
Lot number 12 is a residential structure.
12 is.
They'll have a nice yard if they buy it all.
Sure, yeah.
It looks like a boat from the aerial view. So if somebody bought those other 2 lots and combined them, that would be conforming even under this code system, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
We could combine them, but there's a cost to that.
okay.
Will a notice be sent to the adjacent or neighborhood property owners?
We are not required by law to do that, although it is our practice to inform adjacent property owners within 100 feet of the sale of city-owned property.
And will it be advertised as well as?
Yes, and that's why there's no date as part of the resolution, because we have to conform to a certain number of weeks of consecutive advertising, and I just didn't know what that date would be, but it does put us into May.
Beyond a public notice, though, like a display ad or something?
So we would be doing a legal notice. We would also be sending direct mail to property owners within 100 feet of all of the properties listed here. That's what we typically do.
If you just had a little display ad in one of the print publications that said public auction.
If council would like us to do something in addition to what we typically do, that would be a cost that would need to be approved by council.
It's not, you don't have a budget line for advertising?
I do not.
No, I just think that a lot of people don't read legal notices and things like that. And if we want to get as much as we can out of them, that helps.
Good point.
Does the county still, are they planning on holding their land auction here again this year?
They are, and we're working with them now to whatever properties we don't sell off during this next round here. We're looking at just running ours parallel with theirs, using the Auctions International. They get a lot of attention on theirs and do a lot of advertising. So we're down to 20 or 25, Andrew, is that what we said? Surplus overall. Maybe 30, somewhere in that range. It's down. So they offered us the opportunity to parallel in with them. So we're just waiting for a proposal back from the company now, and then we're gonna use that avenue too.
Because that might draw some more money to Councilor Reese's point.
No, it is more attention because people look for those county auctions a little more. So I think it'll be a good opportunity. Legislator, excuse me, the county legislator made that suggestion. So we're gonna take them up on the offer.
With the addition of these properties declared as surplus, if that is what council chooses to do, that will bring the surplus property list to 21 properties.
Very good.
How many of those are homes?
They are all vacant lots.
I meant of the 21 that are left.
Correct, they're all
They're
vacant
all
lots.
vacant lots. Good. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay. Kathy, would you call the roll?
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
approved.
If you don't mind me asking, who moved and seconded that?
Counselor Scamperly, you actually moved it,
Okay.
and the mayor seconded it.
It was a long time ago.
Oh, that's right, because she was going on with the list. That's right.
This brings us to old business. And we will begin with City Manager Stephen Jelly.
So the final update on the police reform, you've got in front of you the appendix required by the state that was signed and certified me that our plan was in by the 1st of April. And the state acknowledged receipt of that. No comments back as of yet. On the sales tax, just give you an update tonight where we are with that. Our request from the state of New York to receive the same data that we received last year for all of the recorded businesses in St. Lawrence County was denied. The state is claiming now that they made an error in sending us that data. So we've got Gray and Gray chartered right now to use the 2019 data to do what Mr. Tooley suggested earlier, which is to give us a rough ballpark of where that will be. It's an enormous amount of work, as I talked about before, because right now the recording jurisdiction is the county. So we have a list of close to 20,000 businesses. So the first thing you have to do is go through and extrapolate the ones we know are here, the ones we think may be here. The big box stores, for instance, Walmart, I'll report as one entity for all 3 stores. So it's a pretty big task to break this up. What we know for facts are if we complied with moving to the formula the county produced, we would take just about a 51% reduction in sales tax. So if we were just at $4 million last year, had we've been using the county's formula, we'd have been at $2 million in sales tax. So the number we're shooting for, obviously looking, is can we make $4 million, and can we ensure that we're going to make at least $2 million? I feel comfortable based on the initial work that Tim did last year that $2 million isn't going to be a difficult threshold to make. But again, the absence of more granular data below the county level certainly is making it difficult to do. But we are certainly not going to go into budget season blind about what our sales tax would look like. It's just a lot of work. So we've asked Gray and Gray to staff that out and get that back to us within 60 days. So we've got an idea, but those are our benchmarks, if you will, a low of 2 million and a high of 4 million. Currently, our sales tax is on track from what we did last year. We're right about at par right now for the first quarter, with still one more payment to come. So I think we'll be 10 or 11% above our sales tax revenue from last year. So that's good news on sales tax. So, to the issue of the decision to preempt, I think as we discussed it, we really didn't have a decision. There was no choice. It wasn't really left to us. So we're moving forward in that regard. I don't know. We continue to talk with the county on a number of other shared services and consolidation issues. I don't see there being any serious discussion with creating another agreement. There doesn't seem to be any incentive to either party at this point. So we are doing the due diligence. I don't have an answer today. I really expect it's probably going to be right around the 1st of June when we've got the first look at what we think. And again, I just want to be clear: the data we're working off, it's going to be somewhat rough. Walmart's not going to tell us how much the store in Ogdensburg made, and that's the only way to get the data more broken out for that, for instance. So we'll take a rough assumption that it's 33% of their reporting. And after that, it's just going through. Some of the other unknown numbers are, how does the mail, Amazon services and things working? Is it just reportable to the zip code? There's a lot of people that pay sales tax to the same zip code as the city, but they're not city residents. So we've got a lot of questions that we're working now. Senator Ritchie's office, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Logan Eddy, has been really instrumental in helping us get into the comptroller's office and get good solid points of contact to work with us. So we've got a lot of hands and eyes on this. The city attorney has been engaged with the lawyers in the comptroller's office, and been engaged with the senator's staff and the assemblyman's staff to make sure the legislation is moving through to get us that additional 1 penny, that additional 1 cent that the county is authorized to do. So I think all the pieces are in motion. Just it's going to take a little time to get them all there. I think we expect sometime before the summer session ends, we'll know the results of the legislation moving through the state legislature. It really has to be passed then. By the time they're back in, it would be too late for us to have it in the fall session. So putting your questions, that's where we are.
I have a question. So when you talk about how labor intensive it is, now you cite Gray and Gray. So is Gray and Gray the accounting firm doing the work, or is there a comptroller doing it? So is her comptroller's salary paying for that, or are we paying above and beyond additional for Gray and Gray to do the work?
No, well, so again, just like we do counselor with the city attorney, with the individual that's assigned to us from the firm has the expertise, we'll use that person, or they'll use someone else in the firm. In this particular case, we just need a bunch of hands on this. So I'm keeping track of the cost of this separate, so we can attribute it directly to this matter. And our plan is to submit that to the Financial Restructuring Board for reimbursement under an efficiency of government initiative. And so far, we're having good success in submitting things to them. So I expect the cost to do this analysis somewhere in the $12,000 to $15,000 range by the time it's all done. But that's how we'll cover it.
Okay. When will we know when that's approved by the Financial Restructuring Board after submittal? How long do we?
So now that the state budget's passed, I was notified last week that the Financial Restructuring Board is scheduling now their next meeting. I don't know when that is. We are expecting it and hoping sometime in May. So all the costs that we're going to be submitting will be able to be done. I don't know the exact date because they haven't given it to us.
And we,
Typically, it's reimbursement though. We'll spend
so
the money.
you're anticipating all that to be reimbursed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
So shouldn't the county pay for it since the county's forcing the preemption and the whole issue?
I think that's the way we see it, Counselor, but I doubt they see it that way. They certainly feel like we're welcome to sign on to their system.
Who's going to collect the sales tax to begin with, the state or the county, and then give it to us?
State.
So it'll go back to the old way where, so on my business or Mike's business or Nicole's or whoever's, instead of putting St. Lawrence County, we separate between the county work and the city work.
Right. There'll be a block where you'll have to declare your sales tax to the city of Ogdensburg. Yes, sir. And there again, that's all part of the process. We'll brief in May or June, what it looks like, how we're going to handle that work effort here. It'll be a significant amount of work, especially up front, to make sure that the state is providing the adequate forms, making sure they're notifying businesses, making sure businesses are reporting properly. And then I would, suspect for at least a couple year cycles, we'll have to have somebody constantly scouring the businesses that are reporting to the city to ensure that everybody we believe is in our taxing jurisdiction is reporting to us properly.
Will that be done in our own comptroller's office or will that be done at Grand Gray?
I don't know at this point. I would assume, Counselor, it'll be done here in conjunction with the comptroller's office and probably the planning office to ensure that we've captured everybody. So it'll be a big effort for us.
It just seems like it's going to be a complete overhaul. So I just wanted to make sure.
It is.
With the sales tax aspect, Price Chopper, how do they record their sales tax? Is it similar to Walmart?
Yeah, same thing. All these large stores, Council report is one. And again, we've, we tried last year to have discussion with Lowe's and Walmart, and they're not going to break that out. It's very sensitive data. One would initially think it's public sales tax money being collected. It would be public, but it's not. It's protected to protect the the integrity of the business, and they won't give it up. So I don't know what the difference was last year. The general counsel in the comptroller's office, it was sent as an encrypted document with multiple layers of password, et cetera, but they weren't willing to do it this year. And we made the appeal through the senator's office because in fact we are preempting that we need the data to make the prediction, but I'm thankful we got last year's data. Well, unfortunately, the point that Mr. Tooley brought up tonight would be factual. It'd be hard to know. We would have to be doing some kind of manual tally almost going to businesses. It's interesting to me that in the age of open data that situations like this, the data is not able to be provided to us more. So I feel like we did everything we could to get it. The 2019 data, I think will give us the business names. I don't think there'll be that big a spread in it. At least then we'll have an idea and we can add a percentage to it as we saw the increase over the overall number.
I think to follow up on Mr. Tooley's comments, I think it would be wise of us to invest in that time and that effort and that analysis.
No question.
Simply just based off the simple fact of the Canadian effect, which is missing from here in a community such as Messina. Yep. Without that Canadian dollar coming over here and not being able to spend that, 33% is lofty at this point due to the fact that a great deal of Canadians were coming over here and shopping here.
Council, under normal circumstances, I would say I agree. The interesting thing is that even with the bridge being shut off for the last year, we continue to see the sales tax numbers really moving forward. I was quite surprised to see even the first quarter of this year. Again, we still have one more payment to come in for March, but January, February, and the first of two payments for March, we're at par of last year right now. So now it's only a question of how much better are we going to be for the first quarter. So that's been good. And the good news is, as we know here in Ogdensburg, a good share of our business, we believe would be coming over that bridge. So hopefully when that bridge gets open, it just helps the overall sales tax picture for the county and certainly will be indicative for us as we're collecting our own right here, the stops people are making. Absolutely. Yep.
Can you share that data from 2019 to current date with sales tax? As to what you have now so far?
No, and I can't only because I don't have enough to tell you. When Tim Johnson and I talked about it, it was what we did was we divided the list at that point into three groups, kind of what was a guaranteed, what we know. Here's the businesses with Ogdensburg addresses. Everybody knows they're here, et cetera. Then it was the big box stores we know. And then there's a whole list of these businesses that have an address somewhere else, the corporate, somewhere else, et cetera, and then the mail. And so Tim's predictions based on what we knew, and if you added a percentage of this and a percentage of the big box data, and just if we had 30 or 40% of the data that was in the unknown businesses, that we thought we were somewhere in the 2.5 million range. So again, I just don't know though how that compares with last year's data. Maybe that would have put us closer to 3 million with this, yeah. And so that's why I say again, what we know, again, the high range for us is what we took in last year, 4 million under the current agreement. And the county's proposal to treat us like the rest of the towns and villages would have had us rated about 2 million. So there's our window in there.
So with that being said, a fair analysis, I think, should be undertaken. I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Safe to say?
Yes.
So we're in agreement to go ahead with it.
Well, we've been working this.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good.
What we do know is that 2017 to 2019 sales tax grew in the county by $5 million. It's gone from 55 million to 60 million. $60 million in the entire county, and we get $4 million, which is hometown rule. If we're successful, with the help of Patty Ritchie, Senator Ritchie, and Assemblyman Mark Walczak, if we're successful, we will get 2.5 cents of every dollar spent in our city. And I believe that we're 9% of the population, and so getting 2.5 cents inside the city, I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to make the $4 million, and who knows, possibly more. But we had no choice. And I mean, they were just going to take it all.
I hope you're right.
Well, we had no choice. And the other factor is, it's a strange situation to be in when everyone is prospering
Too, right?
from sales tax, when it's increasing. Why are, usually when the pot gets smaller, maybe you fight over more. But when the pot's getting bigger and everyone's prospering, it's strange that we're fighting over, or the county wants more. So anyways, any further discussion?
Just one quick one. Where does that second half go? We get 4% sales tax. You're saying we only get 2%. Where does that second half go? Is the state thing? I mean, I'm just curious. That's all.
The other percentage will go to the county. They'll get a share of tax.
Really?
Yeah, they will.
So the breakout for everyone, just as far as that explanation goes, of 8% sales tax, 4% goes to the state, 3% goes to the county. The term preemption comes from, we will preempt 1.5 cents of the 3 cents that normally goes to the county. So we'll be looking at 1.5 cents, and then we'll ask for the additional 1 cent authorization, the 8 cent to be collected here. So our take would be 2.5%.
So the county wouldn't get that
No,
8% from the city anymore.
no, the county would still have the authority to tap it. We're getting it because we have to have the authority here to do it. In other words, the county's request to cover the county did not cover us as an independent jurisdiction. So we're asking for the authority to charge 8 cents here in Ogdensburg.
So my next question then comes from that extra cent. For the county to get that extra cent, they needed us to vote for them to get it, to collect it.
They did.
So if they give up this contract, do they give up that extra cent that they're getting?
No, again, it is solely our decision to preempt. I mean, we don't feel the county's leaving us any choice when we say we don't want to settle for 50% reduction to $2 million, but we are making the election to go to that. So no, they will maintain their 8 cents.
My understanding is that we'd only get two cents on every sale, or 2%, because the county has enacted on the 1 cent, the extra 1% or 1 cent, whatever you want to call it. And if the city does the same, then that is also split. So I believe it's 2%.
I don't think we know for sure whether it's going to be 2 or 2.5.
So we'll have there's a line by line breakout we'll have from the state comptroller's office. The discussion has gone back and forth. It seemed to me during the last discussion that we're asking for the entire 1%, but Councilor Reese certainly could be right as well. It's an interesting process. there's definitely some gray areas. So we'll have that soon. The process you all have to sign off on and authenticate to the state we're doing this and understanding of what percent we're getting, what percent the county is getting, et cetera. Well, it is. Unfortunately, it's not done very often, and the state comptroller's office is I don't know if the feeling is they don't want us to do it. I don't know. I think it's that. I just think,
don't.
Yeah, they're right. It's going to make it more difficult for them. It's another jurisdiction. We'll be another group of people who are probably will send in a monthly reconciliation form that says, company A, B, and C didn't report to us. You've got to go back and take the money away from the county and give it back to us. And it's problematic. So they don't want to see us doing it. They'd ideally like to see it at the county. I thought there would have been some push on the county, to have said, hey, do you really want this to happen? It's just going to make things more difficult for you. There'll be money coming in and money coming out, but they didn't see it that way.
In all reality, you kind of brushed upon it earlier. I mean, you've got a lot of DBAs doing businesses right out of their homes, and
correct.
The billing's going to the state, and they're paying their state taxes and their sales tax and whatnot. And there's a good chance we may not see it.
State has no incentive to make sure this is right. It'll be completely upon us. They'll collect their 4%. What happens to the rest of it? If we don't go looking for it, they won't be looking for it for us.
Heavy task.
Deep.
So can we get updated on this progress, please?
I think I update every meeting, Counselor.
It just seems like, even maybe you just said it yourself. It's changing as
Oh
we
yeah,
go
that's I put it on here every meeting. I'm giving you what I got.
Okay,
And we did discuss at least 2 or 3 meetings ago that we were researching that. I started with the 2019, figuring the names haven't changed. So can we get the list broke out? And I was hoping to get the 2020 data and just use the new numbers. So we're already in motion separating the list by those demographics. Okay. Next on my list was just an update on property tax foreclosure. We had the first meeting a week ago discussing the transfer of that function to the county. The city attorney and I have come up with what we believe are 2 options. The first is the one we've talked about, which is the function would transfer entirely to the county. We would continue collecting tax just like the towns do. And after 120 days, we would turn the list over to the county for delinquent collection and or foreclosure action. And the second option is we will just stop collecting the county. They will collect their own and we will collect our own. So an individual would get 3 tax bills, where now they would get 2, city and county together in school. So we're working through the pros and cons of each with the county, what the labor pickup is for them, what the loss is, what the gain is, et cetera. We're doing some of it now by collecting the tax for them. We certainly would like to move into their foreclosure process. So really it takes the burden of that off us, but moreover, what it does is it takes us away from having to make them whole on that delinquent amount. So either option satisfies that. We would no longer be making the county whole. So again, we had our first meeting, brainstorming of options. Again, Scott Goldie and I boiled it down to what we think are the 2 most viable and would make sense for the amount of work we're doing. We're going to meet again next week, and then I'll have a report about a little closer where a recommendation is coming from that. But I do see a change coming. I don't think staying the same is what we want. We want to get away from this making the larger government whole. It'll certainly help our cash flow. We made a conscious decision in the last couple of years not to borrow for payment of these make whole taxes to the county and to the school. And we'll continue that. We won't have to this year, but just taking away the potential of those bills when they're presented is important for our short-term cash flow and just takes the responsibility off us. So I like either option. I hope the county will look at treating us like the towns and villages and just let us do the initial collection and then turn the list over. And then we join in a larger picture of allowing them to do the collecting the delinquent taxes. It would add an additional year to someone in the village being able, or the city being able to pay their taxes before foreclosure would take over. And again, it would just take that administrative work off us. If for some reason there were a property that the city wanted to control for some reason, or we wanted the ability to maneuver with it differently, again, we'd always have the option to pay the county tax for that property and hang on to it. So we wouldn't necessarily lose control of something that we'd want to. And I think that's one of the cons of passing over the jurisdiction is potentially losing control of properties as they become vacant and relying upon the county to collect and dispense on them. So I think, again, on a select basis, we would look at the list and determine potentially is there properties there the land bank would want, pay the taxes, let them take them, or for some reason the city wanted them otherwise, let them go into the larger county foreclosure process.
So if you had an incident, let's say like the cheese plant.
Yep.
I remember when I came on council, they operated about 6 months, gone. Right.
Yep.
And so the city of Ogdensburg is waiting on this tax money, and it's a part of the lawsuit and everything. And the city of Ogdensburg had the lion's, we had everything in terms of lawsuit having to pay for it. So if you took option 2, where there's 3 tax bills, okay, and we're no longer responsible, would the county have to fight for their bill, the city for theirs, and the school for theirs?
So typically the way it will work is this. In relation to the school, let me take that one first. The school will always be our responsibility. As long as there is a city school district within the city compounds, it'll be our responsibility. If the county decides under option 1 to take it all, then the school can also use their process like the other school districts do, try to collect the tax and then pass it to them for re-levy at the first of the year. But under option 2, we would still be making the school district whole. We would still be responsible for that part. So the county make whole would go away and paying the county their taxes would go away, but the school district would remain with us. But we do have, the 3-year agreement with all the jurisdictions. So we take a property back on taxes. We have 3 years to dispense of it before we owe somebody those taxes.
And the county's at roughly $10 a 1,000, and the school district is 3 times that. Is that right? At 30?
Just shy of 30, right?
$30. That's
yep.
So that's a much bigger burden for us. So hopefully they would take option 1 so that there are delinquent properties and they make them whole and make the school district whole as well.
That's what they should do. They do it for everyone else. And if they did that, that would be a $1.6 million turnaround for the city.
So as we get closer to this, and I can give you the pros and cons of each with a little more detail, I think then it'll be incumbent upon us to talk to our county legislative representatives and work this through. There's no doubt anything that keeps us from having to be responsible for making anyone whole. The law seems clear. It doesn't want the school district to be a foreclosing authority, and they also want the school district not to have the burden of going into debt. So that's why they put the responsibility back on a level of government. So for instance, now school district property outside the city is made whole by the county. We take care of the school district property within the city limits.
In 1995, the state passed legislation that the city could have opted out at that time, and it would have saved us millions of dollars, but we didn't do it. But things have changed, and we definitely need to do it now. On the cheese plant, we paid $250,000 to the school over the 10 years. We paid $100,000 to the county. And this could be really a big change for us, a big improvement. I don't know why the county's fighting it when they do it for everyone else. And most cities in New York State have opted out.
So to compound matters to Councilor Scamp, I just wanted to talk on one more thing. Best I can tell, we never really sold the cheese plant. That was how we got it back so quickly, as we didn't
try to.
Yeah, but it didn't. So we had it as outside the 3-year agreement. So that the cheese plant's a little more of a complex situation because we had it and we're trying to do something with it and lease it. So it'll be a little more cut and dry under any new process where we just have to do a better job of getting those off the books in 3 years. That's really the bottom line. We just have to, once we take possession of them, we have 3 years to get them off the books so we don't have to continue paying for them. And I do think if you look at any county's property auction, it's very rare, even in St. Lawrence County, that at the end of a sales tax auction or a property tax auction that there's anything left. I don't know, what specifically the reasons are for that. I just think they auction until they're gone. They don't put minimum bids on it. I think they started at a minimum price, but then they keep dropping. I mean, the idea is not to own anything at the end of the auction. So I just think we have to look, proactively at moving some of these things on. These properties tonight that Andrea briefed to me, a lot of them are just sliver lots. They're little pieces of land, here and there that the city has gotten back over the years, and we've just got to to be as proactive as we can. So what we've asked for tonight is the ability to go through the process of auctioning them. If it doesn't work, then we'll go a little more, personal with local residents and find out what price we can get just to get them off the city books and back in somebody else's hands.
Does anyone else have any other old business?
Yeah, I do. The actual, I don't know if Andrew can help me with this or not, and Dan possibly as well. We did a revamping of the code, 2 aspects of it. One of which was already done, and it's all through technology. Where's the second half of that? I know it was a great deal of money to get it done, if I remember correctly.
I think what you're talking about is we did, and Kathy can actually speak more to this. The city did budget for in 2019 to switch our online code to general code.
Thank you.
And we've done that.
It's done.
Yep. The other part of that is what Councilor Scamperly brought up, I think, what you're talking about, is the consolidated draft recommendations from the planning board for the zoning codes portion, which is chapter 221 of the municipal code. That was wrapping up in the late summer, fall of 2019, and the council could have then adopted it, but they chose not to because there was a significant change that was coming, and they felt that it would be better to wait. And so that was presented to this council. It's been on our website as a public document since the summer of 2019. We did have some meetings with some of the new councilors in January and early February, but with COVID, that really did get put on the back burner, and we haven't had the opportunity to resume conversations with new council members. But council as a whole, I would say. It's just that some of the existing council members were part of many working sessions as well as public open houses that we had to get public comment on the draft document.
Thank you.
So we did get a lot of public comment on this, and as well as our own working sessions. If we pass that code as it is, then we can just make smaller changes.
Well, there's quite a bit of work that still has to be done. Even if you wanted to adopt it just as it is right now, it has to go through a legal review.
Right.
And we have to do the state environmental quality review, which can't be done until we do the legal review, because you have to do that only after it's substantially complete. So the legal review could be a lengthy process. We've budgeted for it in 2018, 2019, and 2020.
And it never got complete.
We never did it. We never got past council.
So it has to get past council to go to legal review.
In draft form.
Right.
As a substantially complete draft that you would adopt pending legal review.
And that's ready right now.
Well, no, because this council hasn't really reviewed it.
One thing to consider, Dan, is right now our attorney is working so many hours on the sales tax and on the property tax jurisdiction. So right now wouldn't really be a good time to take him off some of that.
No, this is for us to review as council to see if we want to put the draft forward.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm for it. I'm for looking to have you and I look at it.
I mean, eventually we're going to need that.
But like I say,
The legal
myself
review?
was busy on a lot of things, tax, property tax, and other issues.
It really is on the agenda. We had a lengthy meeting with our city attorney about some other issues as far as the property maintenance code, how we need to do some things, revamping of that to make it less cumbersome. I mean, it's nothing that we're not bringing. It's just as a matter of, I think the mayor said, it's just getting to the next thing in line. But it's something we need to do. There's some things that definitely hinder us. They're slowing us down. They probably were good at one point. They just don't work good today. The way the laws are structured, the way we have to route things through the court. So I think it's all the same. It's all the same code. So we'll have it on the list. I mean, I would say I feel like confident we can get the draft revisited and back to you all for internal review sometime in the next 30 to 45 days, and then start to figure out how we move it forward from there. I mean, it really is a priority for us as well.
Yeah.
I will say that when we presented the cost for the legal review or estimated cost for the legal review and the budgets in the past, it was to do an outside consultant from the city attorney, just because it sort of is a specialized document. And it would allow it to be done in a quicker fashion with a land use law attorney specifically. So that's how we budgeted for it in the past. But like I said, it's not budgeted for in 2021.
That's the way it should be done. You know, get it expedited.
General code also does, I believe, have an option that you pay for, obviously, in addition to their services, where they will contract the legal review on your behalf. So that's always an option as well.
Maybe we can budget for that for next year.
We can, or the other option that, we're going to try to get to council for this year is in July, we'll do a really, a really hefty budget review, mid-year review where we are. So if we've got money that we haven't used or the use is not being done, let council know where we may have money, sitting there that we can reappropriate to something else. So that's our plan, is in your mid-year review to have lined up where each budget line is, but where we might be able to take money and move that to some other things. So this will probably be a good time to address that perhaps as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. So, and this brings us to new business.
Just wanted to discuss tonight, Councilor Reish has submitted a proposed resolution talking about ensuring the videotaping is being done adequately for all city meetings and city-sponsored groups. I just wanted to take this opportunity as we look at that resolution. The city attorney sent me back a couple areas that he's looking further into. But one of the areas I wanted to talk tonight about was our continued use now that we're allowing personal attendance, what the council's pleasure is on continuing the use of the two-way. Do we just want to stream? Do we want to continue recording? What do we want to do? I'd like to get this all wrapped into one package here so we can make the adjustments that we feel like we need to make.
I think we could consider setting a date, maybe, the 1st of June to end, online appearances and allow everybody in the council,
What are the COVID rules right now?
150 people.
Right. So we need to return to closer to normal attendance, which again, I think now we can look at a prediction that would be probably summertime, June or July, by the time we're able to continue ramping that up. But
I think the president said COVID was going to be completely over July 4th.
I think he did too. Everyone go to your barbecue.
But it doesn't require full capacity. I mean, you can't come in here with full capacity. You have to have 150 people with proper social distancing. That's the maximum. So to avoid allowing other people to, I'm opposed to cutting off online appearances. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a thing of the future anyway.
Yeah, it's completely your decision how we do it. We would continue at least recording that we do. And then
why reinvent the wheel if we don't need to do that at this time?
Yeah, I just think it's a matter of, again, we got a resolution to require videotaping for a lot of other meetings, which I'm fine doing. There's been some discussion, so I just want to know what council's feeling was, what you want to do, and I just need direction. You don't need to debate it with me. Just tell me what you want to continue doing.
I personally like that the public has the ability to call in. We do have a lot of people who maybe can't get out. We have winter months that, I've been sitting here where literally the only people in this room are the people that have to be here because the weather's terrible outside. It's an ice storm. I think having that option is great. And I think that, if anything, came out of the pandemic we're dealing with, is that people have more options to be involved. And I think we should embrace it. We have all of this money invested into making this what it is now. And our audio is better. I haven't been getting nearly as many complaints. We're able to hear the people who call in. It gives more people in our community a voice. And if we're moving towards being more transparent, I think that's the epitome of being transparent, is allowing people to call in and speak, and if they can't be here in person. I know just, being a mom, I can't get 3 kids out of the house if I wasn't sitting on this council, but there are things I'd like to speak to. I think it opens it up for everyone.
Yeah, I'd like to continue rolling the way we are.
Could you have the attorney just review the code rather than a resolution, so that it's in the code as far as what we're doing now, as well as the other meetings that we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
I think then that way it's more concrete. I mean, it's not a resolution. It's not part of the code.
We received a hefty stimulus package for COVID-related issues as well, based off COVID.
And, you know, the way they talk about waves and this and that. And I just think that if we've got it set up, we're prepared to deal with it. We have a community who's adapted to what we're doing. Then we should just continue.
The point of the resolution as drafted, though, is just like we video record these, as you know, and they're posted, but it would expand it to the planning board, the zoning board, the board of assessment, the land bank, the growth fund, so that people have an opportunity to see what's happening in city government.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think if, you know, if the boards also want, you know, more involvement as well, having public participation in those meetings, if it's a meeting where it's warranted, people would be more apt to apply, especially people who work during the day. I know a lot of sometimes these meetings take place during the day or during business hours, but if people had a lunch break or something like that, maybe you would have more citizen participation if they could call in for things like that. So that could be a added benefit as well. And you might even have people who would be more available to sit on these boards because they could attend virtually, which would, you know, expand the people that are willing to get involved in our community.
Okay, I'll get it reviewed and back for the next meeting. Next item, I just wanted to, again, just discuss the Moody's credit report. So contrary to whatever report I was quoted in tonight of taking all the credits, that's not at all what was done or said. There were certainly, that the report spoke for itself. I sent you all the highlights. It talked significantly about the factors that impacted our Moody's rating. One of those factors was 3 years of multiple surpluses. That was certainly a good thing. The weight tipping factors, again, this is in the report. It's easy to read and clearly identified in there, was reducing the taxes and creating the gap in that constitutional tax limit. They questioned us significantly on that. That seemed to be a key factor for them because it goes to our ability to raise revenue when we need to. You know, in essence, we need to lower taxes to have the ability at some point to raise taxes. So those were things that were in there. I think the obvious hard decisions that are being made in a time of fiscal crisis within the workforce also played in there. And I think they cautioned us on the areas that they're, you know, paying close attention to. I think everyone should look closely at that report. Jobs growth is something that they see is key, you know, a key cautionary factor that we have to continue to do all we can. So I do feel like the report gave credit everywhere that it was due. I didn't think it was singular, nor did our comments state that. And I think it's a, you know, it's a significant benchmark that we have graduated out of the junk bond status into the investment grade bonds that we're in, especially as we're getting ready to lock in, you know, about $25 million of long-term financing for the wastewater treatment plant. So perhaps even depending on the final date of that, Moody's will give us one more look between now and then, and we'll improve our rating further. So I do think that was good. If there's any questions, please let me know. I sent everybody all the information I have, but Moody's is certainly open to answering any questions or concerns that we may have had.
I'm just happy for it. Very happy for it.
So next on my list, Ogdensburg Command Performance request for funding. I talked to Mrs. Plow at length last week. Obviously not being able to do the normal shows and raise the revenue. Their financial situation is difficult at this point. They are hoping to be able to continue with their midsummer shows that they normally do. Again, a lot of factors are gonna depend on that. But bottom line, I'll just get right to it. They're looking for some additional funding other than the $1,000 that we appropriated for them in the budget to help get through the year. I think they've been managed very well, very efficiently. They had a lot of savings. They've used a significant amount of it to keep their program going and keep things up and running. But she's concerned about not having, you know, some level of savings or fund balance going forward so that they can continue these shows and hopefully rebound just as soon as the economy lets it. So again, I feel like we had a good discussion. I think this is an area that's But to everyone here, knows certainly this has been a key program for Ogdensburg, attracting people to the area. I think it's popular all over the community. And then I'd like to be able to make a recommendation to the council tonight. I've got about $15,000+ in the unused city manager's assistant position that we haven't used since I haven't filled it. And I'd like to be able to take $15,000 of that and have that dedicated to the command performance to give them a boost to keep them going. I asked them to come back and give us a report as their summer shows go. I don't think we want to see this organization falter. I think there's been a lot of effort put in it over the years to keep it up and moving. It's certainly important to that. So just like council to think about that and consider it. If you want to act on it tonight, great. If not, just let me know what questions you have. But I think again, it speaks for itself. And I think 15,000 is the amount of money we can put together.
Yeah,
I personally,
a resolution and background on it would be good.
Yep.
I'd personally like to see it maybe divvied up between some of the other entities that need it as well, to consider the library and the OCP.
I think we need to invest in groups like this. They're volunteers, and we get a lot for our money. Same with the Garden Club, same with the Pride and Beautification, the Seaway Festival. I think we need to start investing and bringing a quality of life back to our city. So I would be for that 100%.
Do we have an understanding on the COVID rules yet? I mean, if we don't have anything in writing, that's all I need. We don't have any directive on how it can be spent or anything like that.
No, and we don't have the money yet. I mean, again, remember it was appropriated by Congress, just signed it, but there's no rules yet. The money's not been dispersed. There's no official rules of what we can and can't use. We all saw what I presented in the summary sheet. That's the only information. So we don't have that $1.1 million as of yet. No.
Well, just to follow up on that, and surely not slighting OCP, I personally give to the OCP, I give to the library, I give to multiple entities here. And I'm not telling everybody that they have to do that. But at the end of the day, those two buildings right here are pillars of this community. And they've been here and they're part of the history of this city. And quite frankly, it's pretty much all that's left. And to, in my opinion, to shun that in any way, shape or form is just disingenuous. I'm not opposed to the OCP in any way, shape or form. They offer not only to this community and bring people into this community, but they provide a great service to the school districts in this county, that when these kids come in and get to see these performances.
Councilor Powers, just for your recollection, for all of you, just if we can be clear, there's been a lot of publicity about this that's facts made up in someone's living room. The previous city manager and the previous council, which you were part of, Councilor Scamperly, Councilor Kennedy, had gone on a 5-year plan to have the library phased out of city operations entirely. That year to end was 2020. There was no money to be budgeted according to the previous city manager for 2020. A phase out plan had been agreed to with the library. They came to me and were not able to meet that plan, and we budgeted $162,000 for them last year. So we certainly support the library in 2020. You all approved it as part of the budget process. None of you can say you didn't because you all voted for it. It was there. So the library didn't ask for more money at that time. They came right in here and made their presentation. We accepted their presentation and we gave them the money they asked for. We also gave them the money that wasn't planned to be there. So I think it's disingenuous for anybody in this community, certainly on this council, to act like the administrative side of the house has not done their best to take care of the library, because that just wouldn't be true.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying it would be disingenuous not to consider it. That's my comment. And I don't know what living room you're talking about, but for the simple matter, and I can only speak for 2019, but when we came in here, the idea was to increase the fund balance, which was done, and to start to slow down some of the contributions to some of the other entities. Not to completely phase out unless necessary. That's a 5-year plan. That's a plan going forward.
Okay.
That's what I inherited when I came in 2019. So what living room you're sitting in is not the same living room that I'm sitting in.
Clearly.
Thank you.
And so we had an opportunity in 2020, and I don't think anybody is prohibited or told the library they won't be able to make a presentation for 2022. No, nobody has said that.
I'm not saying that either.
And I don't know where the reports have come from that have said that.
I'm not saying that either. But I'm saying that we all know that they need it.
We do.
We all know that there's many entities that need it.
We do.
And I was saying out,
And the command performance won't be able to go ask the taxpayers directly for money. The fire department won't be able to ask the taxpayers directly for money, nor the police department, nor the DPW, nor the city staff. But the library has an opportunity to go ask the taxpayers directly to fund the library.
and they're doing that.
And if they get their money, they get their money. So I don't know why, I don't know why anyone thinks the library is.
Maybe 7,500 that they can bank on.
And they might not
It's
get
just a
it.
suggestion.
Perhaps.
In the 2019 budget,
25,000.
153,000 was reduced by the council in 2019 to 2018 for the 2019 budget. And an additional 35,000 in 2019 for the 2020 budget. So, yeah, it looks like the plan was being implemented. And I'm glad that we were able to contribute 162,000 this year.
Which of the 162, I'm sorry, of the 162,000, how much of that comes back to the city tax roll? Comes back to this building right here. Of that 162,000, 130,000 of it?
What do you mean?
Salary and benefits?
What do you mean comes back to this building?
Aren't we paying back am I correct to assume that the library is sending back 130,000 in salary and benefits?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, my bad.
We have also a bond, aren't we? Helping them with that?
Correct.
Okay.
So the way I've always understood it, okay, is we've tried very hard to get the library and the Remington to be more self-sufficient.
Correct.
Remington has had a much easier go of it. And the referendum, the attempts, the plans has been sort of a partnership with the library, trying to extend the tax base to collect money to pay for the library, which was the purpose of the whole putting it on the school tax, because you expand it outside the city limits.
Absolutely.
Because the people outside the city limits are also using the library. And so it makes sense that we have that additional tax. There was never any commitment to say, well, if it doesn't work, see you later, by any means. As far as I would never do that to the library. I do know that we've tried to reduce what the city pays, rightfully so. But I would never sit back and watch the library go down. And so that was one of my questions under items for discussion tonight is what is the plan of the majority of council, 4-3, because ultimately the budget is ours. If that referendum goes down, if it fails to expand the tax base, which would actually lower the library tax for people. If it fails, like it has before, what is your plan? Is your plan to do away with the library?
No, our plan is very well articulated in the comprehensive development plan that was submitted, and it talks about the importance and relevance of the library as well as the Remington, and I'm not going to cut them the way you cut them.
I just want to know.
Okay.
I'm just asking a question. What's the plan?
And for update, the Remington, and Councilor, I'll just agree to disagree with you, but the plan was for them to both become self-sustaining, the library to go on a school-based system, tax for their money, get their money through that system. The Remington, who doesn't have that ability to do it, has gone on their own. We have one employee on our books through the end of the year, and then they'll be completely off our books and self-sustaining. They don't have the ability to do a referendum, completely nonprofit, raising their own money. So I think the Remington did do an extraordinary job of following through with the plan that was laid out starting in 2016. So again, I don't think there's any intent here that the city, at least no one has verbalized to me, to see the library close or shut down. I think the idea was to see, and again, no better way than through this referendum to see what the taxpayers want to appropriate for money, and then take a look at how the library is managing their finances, how they're managing their operation. Is their mission staying relevant? Are they offering the services that are needed? How else are they raising revenue? And then for the city to consider during budget time every year what kind of an appropriation we make. I don't see how it would work any other direction.
That's what I want.
And the what if plan, I think we all hope the what if plan doesn't come true, and that we don't get that expanded tax base drawing on people not just in the city. I think we all support that that would be the way for it to happen. If it doesn't happen, I do think one of the things council has to take into consideration strongly is that if the community does speak and they don't approve it, then you all represent the people here. And if the people speak in one direction, how far to another direction do we go? So, I mean, I think the library has put themselves in position to find out exactly what the community thinks.
And just like every department, there has to be accountability. I mean, in 2020, they were from 40 to 45 hours a week. They had 7 full-time employees. They had 3 part-time employees. They had a $550,000 budget. They had a contribution of the city of $265,000. And I just say that $550,000 divided by 45 hours comes to $265 an hour. For 7 full-time employees, 3 part-time, I believe that library should have been open days, evenings, and weekends. It's my opinion.
Let's move on to the next.
Yeah, we'll move
the
on.
other.
Well, we can talk about that later. So, I mean, this was sent to me by Penn. I'm reading off.
Well, are you reading all of it? And we were shut down for 3 months because of COVID, operating part-time 3 months because of COVID. We did not spend all of that $550,000 because we had a fund balance that we carried over into this year. And I ended up with 2 full-time people at the end of this last year. From that 7, and I have 6 part-time who all that information is also on that sheet.
Yeah. In 2021, they are operating 40 hours.
Could I please request if we're gonna have question
I
answer
would
that
rather-
Penny could come to
I
the
would
podium so we're
rather-
not yelling across council chambers?
I mean, we're not appropriating money. This is like, it's not a budget workshop.
No, I know, but I'm just saying if we're gonna continue conversations
why I'm
across,
saying is-
yeah, then
yeah,
we need to at least bring Penny
No, I
up
know, I
here.
agree.
So
I'd like to be informed.
Right, but there's no resolution or anything to act on. It's not like they have a referendum before the school district and we're not voting on any budget tonight. The budget's in place.
my point was I just want to see better performance. That's all. Everything that.
I think they do a fine job.
Okay.
Amazing job.
Okay, so we're moving
Well,
on to item
sure
2 discussion.
Cut them a lot.
We did. We did. And they still performed.
You know,
Probably all we could possibly cut.
okay, is there, anyone else have any new business? And this brings us to discussion.
So item I have tonight is on the topic of library board appointments. So again, as I reported last month, I've been working with the city attorney to define exactly what our responsibilities are. What are the city's authorities, responsibilities to the library board? And so by way of appointments, what I can report to you tonight is the appointments to the library board are absolutely the mayor's appointments and confirmed by the city council. That is the law. Sent to me by Michelle McLaughlin, their board president. Kathy and I have gone forward and backward in the city doctrine. The only controlling document we have been using for a number of years is the library board's bylaws, which you all know is not a controlling document to how the city council functions, but state law certainly is. So what I'll propose now that we've got a definition on that portion of it is the library has put forth some recommendations. So I'll submit those to council or submit those to the mayor. And then whatever other recommendations the mayor has. Again, these are mayoral appointments. I don't. There's been discussion. I've gotten emails from people with opinions about how this works. This is not a rubber stamp to the board of trustees recommendations, their picks, their reappointments, etc. These are straight away mayoral appointments. So we'll handle those in the same way that we handle everything else. We'll vet everything through, make sure people meet the qualifications, etc. And present any names that are submitted to us to the mayor, then for council action. So
That's your interpretation of section 260 of the education law, state law?
it's not an interpretation really, Counselor. It's written pretty black and white.
Yes, it is. I have it in front of me.
Read it away.
That's not my point.
My-
Save your comments, man. You know what? Save your condescending comments.
It's not condescending.
I apologize.
Don't use the F word.
I apologize.
All right, does anyone?
I'm not done yet.
It's a discount.
The trustees submit to the mayor. He makes the appointment and it is confirmed by council. Is that correct?
It does not say that.
That's not what it says?
It does not say that.
Okay. I'd like to have the attorney here to answer some questions from the council as a whole at the next meeting related to this.
Just need a resolution to state that, Council.
And I'd like to have
Second it.
answers to questions that I have to the city attorney, an attorney. I'd like him at the next meeting.
I'll second that.
So are you questioning?
I don't think we need a vote.
Are you questioning the interpretation?
Yes. I have questions for the city attorney. If he's telling me his interpretation through the city attorney, I want to be able to ask the city attorney these questions.
Steve, why don't you just
Plain and simple.
Why don't you
get it in
present it?
writing for the council from the city attorney?
Yes,
So we're not going to have the city attorney here?
we're gonna have them answer the questions in writing.
Yeah, you guys are priceless.
Thank you.
You have a motion and a second. Can we vote on that?
I'll make a motion to table yours.
I'm not tabling. My second.
I'll second you.
I get it. So do we do the table first?
Any,
Whatever way you go.
Frank mentioned the word democracy somewhere.
I think we got.
you guys don't really.
You know what? Save your vote. Save your vote.
Okay,
All
any
right.
further discussion?
Yeah, my turn now.
Yep.
I think that, the people that were recommended by the library board, I think that, they're upstanding members of our community and they've advocated for the library and they've advocated for various programs, and the people that have been nominated forward for this have served in many capacities in our community across various boards. And in my humble opinion, I think that what we've been provided as far as a synopsis of what each of these individuals represent and what they've done for the community stand for themselves. So I would just personally like to give my endorsement for Ann Lesperance, Jana Norris, and William Flynn going forward. That, I think that they should be looked at, and the recommendation of the library board should be weighted heavily, in your opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. Ann Lesperance, Jana Norris, and William Flynn, impeccable. Community members, upstanding. I mean, how could we not? Unless there was some personal vendetta or something going on here. But
Oh, don't start with
I don't see
vendettas.
it. Just saying.
It's ignorant to even throw that out there. Jana rents from me.
Oh,
I don't think we should probably put her
You
personal
really show your
business.
ignorance sometimes.
well, I didn't know she rented from. At least they don't do it on Facebook every day.
I talked to Bill Flynn pretty well daily.
Can we move on?
Good. So hopefully you move those appointments.
I may or may not. We'll see, Dan. Okay, any further discussion?
Mayor, if I may, for clarification purposes, we have a motion and a second by Counselor Powers, second by Counselor Scamperly. Is it my understanding, sir, you wish to withdraw your motion?
I believe she's talking to you, Mike. You did, didn't you?
No.
Mayor, would you like me to call the roll?
Yes, please.
Counselor Powers?
Kathy, I made a motion to table it.
That is correct,
Does
sir.
that go first, the tabling?
It's
and
my
then-
understanding that it would, but I understood that Counselor Powers said, save your vote. So I wanted to clarify if he was withdrawing his. If you'd like me to call the roll for table, I can do that
And
as well.
Steve voted to table it.
And you seconded it,
Second,
sir.
yes. Can we take that vote?
So this is a roll call for the motion to table. Counselor Powers?
No.
Counselor Reish?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
No.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
No.
tabled.
Okay, and this brings us to citizen participation. If you want to speak, come down to the podium. You have 2 minutes.
Just to finish up quickly, what I said before.
Doug, if I may, before she parts, again, I apologize to the chamber here for my slip up, my language, my foul language. It got the best of me, and I apologize to the citizens.
Thank you, Mike. Just to clarify, I'm not opposed to anybody being appointed in a committee. Mr. Knowlton and I have known each other for a long, long time. We've had many great discussions, okay? My concern is the process that was followed that night. And the process that happened that we were told, okay, after I had a discussion with a certain individual, all right? At one time, I had a run-in with the school superintendent, and I asked him, in course 101 of administration, do they teach you how to lie? And his comment was to me, Doug, no, they teach us not to tell the truth. So somebody's not telling the truth over this, okay? I'm not pointing any fingers at this tonight, okay? But somebody's not telling the truth over this. And you guys wonder why people come here. You wonder why we complain, okay? And you put yourselves in situations like that that make people ask these questions, okay? And you mentioned, you know, it's just the way you go about business is absolutely terrible, all right? And you mentioned the Seaway Festival Committee, all right? Great working. I volunteered for that committee millions of times over my career. Anybody else here at this table did that? You? No? You? You probably have a little bit, Mike, maybe? Okay. I know John has. Steve has. Okay. And you have the nerve to charge them $75 to have a meeting at the community center. Why? Why? We've got a ton of city employees that can open that door down there. If you had a recreation director, that's part of his job. Okay. And, you know, it's just, and a comment by a city manager that business is done in living rooms. How much business is done after this meeting at the mayor's house, which I've been invited to?
Or the bowling alley.
A lot of it, okay? So don't criticize other people about having meetings in living rooms, all right? I had one more comment here. And listen, the comment was made that the library is putting themselves in the public light. Let the people decide. Well, the people have decided to put you in office, okay? And the people have also decided that voted for you. They don't want you there anymore, okay? So you're all in the public eye, all right? And there's a vote of no confidence out there. And the only way you're going to get through this, folks, is now you got to start telling the truth. You got to start being upfront with people. All right?
I never lied.
Thank you. What'd you just say?
I said I never lie.
Did you get that? Please put that in the public
Put
record.
it in the record.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Anyone else?
I think about an hour and a half ago, I made mention that I wished I could see more professionalism among staff that addresses council and the citizens and amongst our elected officials. I sat here this evening and I do think that we need help with training and help with good governance. I watched as things were presented to council, and there's 2 ways things could be presented. I could say right now that I wish that we did not add any personal comments or any editorialism when things are presented to council. Or I could state specifically that we should be saying things along the lines that goad counselors to certain positions. There's 2 ways to say things: adding in adversarial or being professional. I'm not seeing the professional side of this, and it's very disturbing. So I wish that the editorial comments and personal opinion could be eliminated when information is being presented to this council. I also sat here this evening and heard 2 rather large items that were presented that didn't have any background on it when I read the agenda. And how does the public speak How do we address things if we're not aware what's coming up? How do we give our opinion how that should be if these items are presented during the course of the meeting and we can speak before and after, but not during when we don't have that information? I sat here and I heard 15,000 here, money for video conferencing in the back, new carpeting. And meanwhile, I'm looking at the stain that's still there after 8 years and that we still don't have a new roof. We're cutting city staff. We don't know what we're going to do for kids this summer with all the programs that they count on. We're talking about eliminating hours everywhere. But yeah, we're going to take care of everybody else but the city. Now, I too, as a business owner and personally, donate to all of these entities, and I think we should continue to support them. But we did look as previous council that we did need to start weaning some things off and just dealing with our direct city involvement. So I'm very concerned that all of a sudden we're having all this extra money to give away and then it's going to be gone and we still have gutted our city staff and the programs that we offer. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
One is just a comment that from this meeting, twice the topic of consideration of having a lawyer discuss things came up. So if you just keep that in mind, I think that it makes a lot of sense. Another thing about correspondence, we skipped by correspondence saying that there was none, but I was told to give my letter to Kathy for correspondence. So I think that that makes sense that would be read because seeing as it was skipped over and it was actually submitted to her yesterday originally to be read or for consideration of being read. And the other thing is it's not cooperating. When I sent the letter, I was told that it was disallowed by the city manager because the correspondence was previously received by city council. I was disappointed. It's disappointing at best and a violation of our First Amendment right as citizens. Further, this denial violates the intent of the New York State open meetings laws, goes against precedents set here with correspondence submissions being read, and violates our own city charter, AR 24G 7.5, if I listed that properly. I can't find anywhere in the charter where it says the city manager is the one who decides what is or isn't read as correspondence. I contend that it still should be read as correspondence because it's a letter that begs action. It's not simply informational. The public needs to be aware of this call to action by more than 100 of its supporters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Hi, I'm Lynne Griffin. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I've lived in this community for only 33 years. I've served on many boards for many organizations, including Ogdensburg Command Performances, as it turns out. I simply want to address you, Mr. Mayor, and the council to say that because I've served on many boards, I've had some experience in searching for new board members. And the way organizations usually try to get their new board members is looking for people who are supportive, who have used the services, who understand the services of an agency, who also meet the needs of that agency's board. I think the library worked hard in coming up with 3 excellent names. With all of that in mind, I think for someone else to choose the board members of an organization that doesn't really know how it works well from the inside is not really workable. And I think that is why the bylaws say that it's with the advice of the board of directors of the library that these new board members are chosen. I sincerely hope you will do it quickly because also that library board's been operating since the beginning of the year with only 6 members instead of the 9 that it's supposed to have. So I would just encourage you to please take seriously the nominations, which I think are excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else like to speak?
I'd like to address the veiled comments towards my intelligence made by the city manager when referencing my comments regarding the Moody's credit report earlier. I apologize. I don't have a 2-year degree in firefighting technology. I do have a
Please.
4-year degree in civil engineering. So
Don't make things.
I think I'm more than capable of reading the Moody's report. I did not make a comment on the report. I made a comment on the newspaper articles that were attributed, quotes attributed to the mayor and the city manager. One from North Country Now attributed to Mayor Skelly. This is the result of a lot of tough decisions made by the city council and a lot of hard work from our city manager. There were a lot of people working to obstruct our efforts and slow us down, but we were able to accomplish this, and I'm really happy for the city. Doesn't sound like a lot of looking back to prior councils. Also, in the Watertown Times, the city manager quotes, "The increase in credit rating will potentially save the taxpayers of Ogdensburg thousands of dollars when applying for credit, and their assessment affirms the positive direction Mayor Skelly and City Council majority are moving the city." That's what I was commenting on. I didn't address anything in the Moody's report. I just attributed those comments and quotes. It's in writing. I didn't see any compliments to Sarah Purdy or anybody else who helped get $2.5 million back into the fund balance. That's what my comment was about. It wasn't about anything else. Also, with regards to the go-to meetings, I don't think any meeting is as important as the city council meeting, planning board, anything like that. I don't believe you have the attendees. So if you're going to drop something, I'd recommend dropping those and not anything to do with city council. Thanks.
Next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ann Lesbrance, and I would like to thank Councilor Scampley and Councilor Kennedy for their compliments and endorsement at this meeting. I am hoping that the council will reappoint me. I have been serving on the board, and the other two nominees put forward because they are very qualified and would greatly improve our board of trustees for the library. So again, thank you for your acknowledgements and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I appreciate the information on sales tax shared by the city manager tonight and the discussion that ensued. I was educated, so I appreciate it. Thank you. A couple of takeaways from that information. First, in 2020, based on the preliminary information shared by Ms. Gray on February 22nd, sales tax and use revenue was $4.4 million. We budgeted $3.7 million. So you had a surplus of $700,000, which was a significant contribution to your total increase of general fund balance of $870,000. Now looking at this year, you budgeted the same $3.7 million. So optimistically, you're on course to repeat a potential $4.4 million revenue if the first quarter, mirrors last year and further quarters do the same. So it seems to me that I have less concern about preempting than I did when I first came up here earlier tonight, based on the idea that you've got some buffer there. If you go to preempt and we end up with a 10 to 12% reduction in the actual sales tax revenue of $4.4 million, we're still at or above budget. So I'm more comforted by that. But referring to that surplus last year and the potential surplus this year, combined with stimulus money that's coming in, and first, I wasn't aware there was a phase out idea, 5-year for the library. Personally, I don't support that idea. And I haven't read the draft of the comprehensive plan yet. And so I haven't had the opportunity to read comments about the library there. But it just seems to me that there's potential for, I'll say, $400,000 to $700,000 above budget in sales tax with the stimulus money that came in. There's opportunity to restore monies to the library to its 2020 levels if the proposition does not pass on May 15th. Other monies can be made available possibly to the other programs in the arts, such as command performances. So I think there's opportunity in the year to provide additional support that, as compared to what you originally planned. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm gonna learn to stay in my seat one of these days. First of all, we're paying a city attorney. We are paying Gray for our accounting. I don't think it's asking too much for them to be present at the meetings, period. We're paying the money. They need to have their butt right in these seats, just like the rest of us are wondering what's going on. And if we have a question, they should be available to us and to the council. The city attorney should be here at these meetings. And Gray, sounds like we're paying, like they're double dipping to me. Like we have to ask them to double dip in what we're doing here. If she's gonna be called our comptroller, then she needs to do this job. I think we budgeted what, maybe $80-some thousand. They're a pretty pricey firm. I'd like to know how much we've already paid out. Now, do we have to foil that? Can we get that information to find out how much we have paid them out already?
So
Mr. Jelly?
I think in our latest update on that from October of last year to the end of January was about 86,000 right there.
And we've budgeted 84, right? Or is that
For comptroller.
sounds like we're over already, right?
Money.
There's extra more.
Okay, I was just curious. I mean, so now we're gonna be paying them above and beyond to do this, whatever this is, all right? I think you counselors all have minds of your own. It would be nice to see everybody, if you have any question whatsoever in your mind, whether you should vote yes or no, it should go regardless of whether it's the 3 or the 4. If you have a doubt in your mind of what you're doing, then maybe you ought to think and look at your conscience for a little bit here. We're paying out money left and right, but we don't have it. So I think the city attorney should be here, and I think that person who's supposedly our comptroller should be here at these meetings. And maybe we can get some straight answers. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak? It's okay.
Take your time.
Time is all I have. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's so nice to see a smile.
I am smiling.
I can tell by your eyes. I'm here for a couple of reasons. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Cheryl Lattiser. I live at 419 John Street in Ogdensburg. I've lived in this city for 56 years. Coming here, I came from a very affluential community, came from Rochester, suburb of Brighton, where we had libraries in our schools. When I came here to teach, I taught in the old Medill School with no library. Kennedy School was being built with no library. Imagine that. That was in the 1960s. I'm really dating myself. A library, when you think of it, is a portal to a multitude of information. It's the very basis and gives us the reason for who and what we are. We live for knowledge. And when we stop searching for knowledge, we're dead. Can you imagine having a business, a doctor, a professional of any kind coming to a community and, oh, we don't have a library. Think about it. You better do some very serious thinking And if you are laboring under the fact that we have done nothing to cut and to budget, come talk to me. Come talk to me. You can give figures and skew them any way you want. Anyway, we need our library. We need you to support our referendum. I believe we were told that if we went out for a referendum, we would get your support. Am I wrong?
You got mine.
Am I wrong? Mr. Reish, am I wrong?
I didn't say that. Now you're
No.
referring to me?
I'm asking you, do we have your support?
Yes.
Mr.
That's the
Skelly?
idea.
I'm not sure. I support the library, but I don't support the way it's being ran.
You need to come and talk to me.
We will talk.
Good.
Yep.
I'll be ready to talk.
Okay.
And I also ask you to please, we have gone for 4 months with a third of our board not being there. Conduct your business with a third of you not being here. You're talking about management? Then please supply us with the individuals we need for management. How many here feel a library is important? I think you have your answer.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Molly Sargent, and I live in Ogdensburg. I have 2 things to say. Number one, I'm in total agreement of supporting the library. I'm just beyond surprised at the way that things are going and the total lack of respect given to the library by certain people. Secondly, I have a question, and I know I probably won't get an answer, but it's mid-April right now. I'd like to know if any plans have been made for any type of city recreation this summer. Our kids went without it pretty much last summer. I know the pool was open, but I just want to know if there are committees, are there plans? What is being done to prepare for this? Because it's mid-April and it needs to be done now. So I would like to know, I probably won't get an answer right now, but I'd like to hear about it at some point. Thank you. Thank you.
Steve, can you update us on that?
Yep, so we'll start the recruitment for the recreation coordinator. I hope within the next week. Shane's already got advertisements going out for the summer help. The pool will be opening for certain. We are waiting to hear from the state on exactly any activities that we may be prohibited from doing, but we're planning to move ahead with everything we can, including working with the Bridge and Port Authority to hopefully open City Beach.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else care to come up? So anyone attending remotely?
I do not see any hands raised.
Executive session. There is a need for executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation from which there will be no action. I will need to recuse myself, so would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Reish,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes, are we adjourning out of executive session?
Yes.
If it passes. Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
I abstain.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yep, yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
approved.